Hey guys, welcome back. So last time we added a bit of style to this to make it look a bit more like the Google homepage. We've centered this now both vertically and horizontally. And we used display flex. And for some of you that haven't seen display flex, it's going to be probably quite confusing to you. Like I said, I'm not going to explain it here because it will take a very long time. And it's very difficult to explain without doing, little examples. And, that's just kind of not something we have time to do in the course because it's, like I said, this isn't an intro to HTML course. So I would, like I said, try and explain things as we go, but I do recommend probably going away to YouTube, and if you want, looking at display flex on there. Alternately, just copy along with me, and it'll probably make more sense to you as we move through. So the more you use this, the more sense it's going to make to you. So if you don't understand it, but you want to carry on anyway, that's absolutely fine. Let's take a break from this flex stuff now. What we're going to do is style the text boxes and the search button. So let's do that. It's a bit more visual for us. So in the style.css page, remember I said you can style it using this in developer tools. So right click, click inspect, and you can style it here if you want to. Or if you don't want to do that, you can do exactly the same thing but by just adding the code to style.css. It really doesn't matter. And you'll see if I add any code here, it will apply here. So what I'm going to do is add this dot main section right here, space, search container, like that. So this is saying apply the code to the search container div, which is underneath the main section div. And I've noticed I've used an uppercase O right there. Make sure you use a lowercase o because this is case sensitive. So going back to index.php, you'll see we're targeting this search container div, which is underneath main section. So search container underneath main section. And if I save that and refresh the page, you're going to see it in the side here. So at the moment, you don't see it here. So if I go to search container before I've refreshed the page, you'll see that we don't have it here. But if I refresh the page now and then go to search container, we have this empty main section search container style because we added it in our CSS file. So inside there, you can add this code. And there's only two things we want to do. We just want to say margin top is going to be 20 pixels. So you can see if I hover over search container element now, you'll see it's got this orange part and that's the margin. So we've said add a little bit of spacing above the text box. If I get rid of that, you'll see the difference. There's no margin there now, but if I add it again, you'll see there's some spacing, okay? So that's good. And the last thing in here is just to say width is going to be 100%. So it looks bad for now, don't worry about that, but what we've done is say this part to take up all the width of the container, which in this case is the whole width of the page. So that's good. Remember I said you need to copy this though, so copy those two and paste it in there. So I've pasted those two changes into this file and I'm saving the CSS file, and then I'm going to refresh the page just to make sure it's still there. Remember I said you can even go to the style.css link and just copy the whole thing every time and paste it in there instead. It doesn't matter. So this doesn't look very good right now, where this whole width. It's right across there, and we want it to be in the center. So we can fix that quite easily by adding some more CSS. So in the CSS file, I'm going to create some space below, just so I can have this a bit further up the page, just a bit nicer for me to see. And then what we're going to do is copy this whole thing up here, this main section search container part, paste it there. But after that, we're going to say form. So this is saying target the form, which is underneath search container, which is underneath main section. So it's targeting the form tag underneath search container right here. So this one right here. And then I know I said we're done with flex, but we are going to use flex just one more time in here for now. So just what we're going to do, it's real simple, just copy from main section. It's going to be exactly the same as this. So in the main section, copy those 3 lines and just paste it in there. And if I save that and refresh the page, this should be in the center now. So refresh the page and it's gone back in the center. Great. Okay, let's style the search button now. So what I'm going to do is underneath there, I'm going to say search container dot search button like this, and this is saying the search button under the search container. And you're probably wondering why we're adding 2 like this when it would work without it. For example, this would work all the same if you just had if you got rid of that and just had that. It would work all the same. It would work if you just had that, but it would, and for example this one would work even if we didn't have that main section part. But the reason we add more is the more detail you can describe the path, the less likely you are to accidentally override something. So if I just had this on its own and I style the button, maybe somewhere else in the site I'll create an element with the class search button because it's a pretty common name for a class, and then this code here will be applied to it even if I don't necessarily mean to do it, maybe because I forgot that we did it with this class here. So by specifying it with 2 like this, it kind of reduces the likelihood of me accidentally overriding something, because even if I use the search button class somewhere else, there's a smaller chance that I've created this same class inside another div with the exact same class again. So it just makes it a little bit less likely for us to override something accidentally. So underneath there, we're going to style this button now. And instead of doing it here, we're going to go and do it in the browser so we can see our changes as we type. So I've saved this and I've refreshed this page again, and then go and find the button, which is right here, search button. And you can see our blank CSS part right here. And what we're going to do is start by saying color is going to be £, or hashtag to some of you. We're going to say 757575. And this is the exact color that Google uses. I have it written down right here. That's how I didn't just memorize that. I wish I could, but okay. Anyway, we're going to say background dash color like this. And the background color is going to be F5, F5, F5. And you see it's kind of like a little bit of gray. Again, this is the one Google uses. It's safe to assume if I type out some random hex value that I have it written down, it's probably the one that Google uses, okay? So just trust me on that. But feel free to change these to whatever you want. If you click on this square, you can see that you can change it to anything you want. But I'm going to use the colors that Google uses. We want to get rid of this border around the button right now. So we're going to say border is going to be none. So you can see that whole border went away. We're going to say height is going to be 36 pixels. Again, this is the Google height. That's where I'm getting these values from. And then the width is going to be 125 pixels. Okay, so the button's a lot larger now. And then I'm also going to say border radius. And this is going to be 1px. And what border radius does is it makes the corners rounded. So if I take this value up, I click on that, and if I increase this value from 1px, you'll see that the borders get rounded the higher the value is. But we're just going to say 1px for a very, very slight roundedness. Okay, so it's difficult to see, but it's there, it's subtle. We're going to change the font size. So font size is going to be 13 pixels, which makes the text larger. We're going to say font weight is going to be bold. We want this to be a thick, bold font. We then want to say margin dash top. So the top margin, we're going to say 20 pixels, which adds some space between the button and the text box. We then want to make it so that when we hover over the button, the mouse pointer changes to a pointer, the one that looks like you can click on it. So look at the mouse right now when I'm hovering over it. But if we write this instead, cursor pointer, you'll see that when I hover over the button now, the mouse changes to a pointer that lets the user know they can click on it, okay? And then the very last thing is just to say outline none. And what that does is it means when we click on the button, there won't be some outline there. So if I get rid of that, there won't be some outline there. And I'll show you what that does in a second. But before I show you what that does, we're going to copy all of this new style that we just wrote, quite a lot. Copy it and just paste it in there. And then save the file. If I refresh the page now, you should see the exact same thing. Okay, so just to show you what this outline does, if I get rid of it, so if I click on the button, but I'll click and hold so it won't actually submit the search. If I click on this and hold it down, it has this outline. That's just so it makes it a bit clearer to the user what they're clicking on. But we want to get rid of that, just so that when we click on it, we don't get that big blue outline. It is worth keeping it in there for accessibility reasons. So, for example, people who don't maybe see as well, who have visual impairments, find this outline very useful. So maybe think carefully before getting rid of it. But for the sake of this course, I'm not going to have it on there, just so that it looks a bit nicer for us as we're putting the site together. Okay, so that's it. We've styled the submit button. Next thing to do is style this text box.